difficult to see, but there's a large beast making its way directly towards us. How cool is this? Morning. Wow. And I've just heard another massive branch breaking behind us. So there's another elephant here. Jason, you said you were hoping for some elephants this morning. Look at this. Absolutely beautiful. This is a elephant bull. And there's, I'm sure, another one behind us. I can also see James's vehicle behind us. So I think he's going to be in position with the other bull that I've just heard breaking what sounded to be a massive branch. It was either that or the vehicle that James is in is making some funny noises. Well, this is my kind of a safari. You just park in one place and let the animals come strolling straight past you. Okay, well, we're going to continue on with my plan to check the southern boundary, and we're going to leave James to continue this elephant sighting with you. He does also have visuals of the other bulls, so why don't you jump onto his vehicle, and we will catch up a bit later.
Good morning everybody, and there is an elephant, obviously. My name is James, Brian is on camera. Hello, Brian.
Hello, James.
Show us your thumb.
Oh, it's too zoomed in.
Too zoomed in. We can't show you the thumb yet. Sorry about that. We will demonstrate it to you shortly. We're obviously, as Scott said, also on a live safari. Just behind him, I can see him disappearing off into the wilderness as we speak. And this is part of the same little herd of elephants that he was looking at. Now, the exciting part of the morning, of course, is that we are back on Wendy. For those of you who are regular viewers, you will know that that is the recalcitrant old bat that we call the name that we give to the recalcitrant old bat that is one of the vehicles that we're on. And she started today, which is a positive thing. Whether she will start again remains to be seen. We hold thumbs, especially in the wake of the fact that we're looking at elephants. Ah, look, there's Brian's thumb. Now, please do talk to us during the course of the drive. Hashtag SafariLive if you're on the tweet. Questions at WildEarth.tv if you'd like to talk to us on the email. Otherwise, the YouTube chatty thing works as well. That elephant that you can see center frame there has just pushed that tree over. But you can see that the particular tree that it's eating has been pushed over more than once. And all it does is change direction and grow the other way. There, the particular piece that's being reached for now, look, that is growing out of a horizontal trunk and was replacing and becoming the main trunk. It's now going to become not the main trunk anymore. This is amazing. Look at the foot up. Hello, Michelle in New Jersey. Interesting comment. You say you've missed the last two drives and you feel like you've missed a week of soap. I'm slightly distressed that we are being compared with a soap opera. I'm sure I'll get over it during the course of the day. You can call me Ridge Forrester if you like. That's a very poor joke. Michelle, as with most soap operas, you will catch up within seconds as to what's been going on. I'm just going to sit here with a little while watching the Zelly. We might try and sneak a little bit closer, just so that I can give you a view of that tree and the savagery to which it's been subjected. Brian, that didn't sound particularly good, did it?
No, not at all.
No. ease closer here because I want you to see the extent that this tree has been butchered over the last little while. And it's an amazingly resilient tree, obviously, because it's still living. It's been pushed and pulled over probably 3 or 4 times during its life, and you can see that it has survived well. And it's managed to do that because it's evolved with elephants. I'm just going to be quite quiet because we're quite close to them. But you can see they're all quite young elephants. They're not particularly worried by us. You see this tree? So that main trunk there that Brian is shining on is what would I say, Brian? Focusing on there, that main trunk there. You can see the middle bit there is now the main trunk, and didn't used to be. You can see the actual main trunk's just been snapped off. But before that, the whole reason that there are 3 or 4 trunks coming out of the ground there is because the tree's been pushed over so many times. Just amazing to me. And all around these clearings, there are trees like this that have actually formed sort of bushes of their own because they've been pushed over so many times, and they've got so many trunks coming out of the ground now. Hello, our beard. Good morning to you, and this is the most beautiful morning. You will see the sun coming up just now, and you want to know how it is that we keep elephants out of our living quarters. Well, largely, no, this is not a facetious answer. They will struggle to fit through the door where we live, but they also will avoid human noise. They won't want to come near a camp. If we were in a camp, and it does happen, of course, where there was a lot of green vegetation, we had gardens and obviously leafy green delicious trees for the elephants to eat, you'd find that they spend a lot more time in the camp. But there isn't really that case now where we live. Then around the FC there is, but there is a fence around the FC, and so they can't get really through that fence. They could if they really wanted to, but it is electrified, which means that they will get zinged. Interestingly, there are many camps around here that have what we call an elephant fence, which is just a fence that keeps elephants out. It's a 2-strand fence that sits about probably 5 foot or 5.5 feet above the ground, and that's just to give elephants a little hook if they try and touch the fence. But they're so clever that sometimes they will learn how to avoid them. So I've seen an elephant figure out which was the earth wire and which was the live wire, and then pull the fence down using the earth wire. I've seen an elephant pick a piece of branch up and hit the fence down, so without making contact with its own skin. And I've also seen them go to the pillars where the fence, or the posts where the fence is attached, and push those over and then step over the fence. So, I mean, they really are very clever indeed. You can just see the picture starting to lighten. It's always amazing to me how quickly the light comes on a day like this. I think it's going to be another hot day. But it certainly hasn't been, I think we're over the heat hump. It hasn't been as hot as, it doesn't feel as desperately hot, and I think we're heading gently into the autumn, which will still be pretty hot by most of the world's standards, but for us, very pleasant indeed. And if you're ever feeling a little bit, I suppose, tense or worried that all is not right with the world, a little bit of time with elephants like this can really solve that issue, especially when they're being so peaceful and confiding around us. There's something very old about them. Hello, Liz in Wisconsin. You say that you have loved elephants since you were a little kid. Well, I have loved elephants too since I was a little kid, Brian. There we go. There was just a small picture flicker. Yeah, I don't think it affected you though. So this is going to be happening to trees all around the reserve at this stage because of the drought. Elephants have rejected the pathetic offerings of grass that the earth is offering them up at the moment, and they are eating the trees. Which means that, can you imagine if the drought was to persist for the next little while? I think she's actually scratching a foot there. It's hilarious. If this drought persists, can you imagine the change in the height of the vegetation and the structure of the vegetation? There are lots and lots of elephants in the Kruger National Park area, and they will profoundly alter the shape of the vegetation. Janice, you want to know how the elephants survive during the drought. Well, at this stage of the drought, Janice, all they're doing is moving on to their winter feed. And their winter feed, or dry season feed, would be exactly what they're eating now. Trees and leaves and bark. I haven't seen many eating bark. I think that's because some of the trees still have leaves on them, but they're largely eating their kind of winter forage at the moment. Now, when the winter actually does come in full force and the dry season really takes hold, they're going to struggle to find enough to eat. And I think it might be a difficult time. But we'll only know that later on, and we'll only know that after we've seen if we're going to get any late rain. And Mark Tilbury, exactly, it was just kind of what I was alluding to earlier. You were saying, do trees evolve to survive elephants? Yes, completely they do. You can see this tree is not dead. If you did that to the average pine tree that you find in North America, or perhaps some of the other trees that you get up there, if you broke them at the main trunk, I think you'd find the tree would die very quickly. Out here, there are very few trees that when pushed over don't coppice or sprout from the ground where they've been pushed over. And there are very few trees that can't handle a certain amount of ring barking or debarking, which very few trees can. And the most obvious example is the marula tree, which you can see the trunk sticking out the back of that elephant. Just sort of, he's facing it now. That big tree there, thank you, Brian. That's a marula tree. And the marula tree, of course, has evolved with elephants, and it has a number of adaptations to dealing with elephants. The most interesting of which, I think, is that the fruit doesn't ripen on the tree. The fruit ripens on the ground. And elephants love marula fruit, and so they drop the fruits onto the ground before they ripen. And that means that the elephants will not push the trees over when they want to eat the fruits. It's rather a brilliant arrangement. The elephants don't eat the unripe fruit. But most of the trees out here will have some kind of adaptation to dealing with the machinations of elephants. Eric in Virginia Beach, you're interested to know why it is that an animal might have longer front legs than back legs, and is there advantage to it? Eric, I think it's purely a function. I don't think it's so much a function of the legs, but a function of the weight that has to be borne, and then a function of what those limbs are used for. So an elephant obviously has a massive head, a massive skull, and you know the trunk is also extremely heavy, and so it's got to support that mass. I think you'll find that's why the musculature and size in the front is larger than that at the back. They also, of course, their back legs aren't necessarily shorter so much as hidden behind the largeness of their elephantine bottoms. So, I mean, the leg actually goes quite a long way up into that sort of back half of the elephant. But the most obvious example of an animal that has very long front legs and short back legs would be a hyena. It's an adaptation for stamina, and it's also an adaptation to the carrying. Look at this. What these elephants are looking at, Brian.
I don't know.
Suddenly they've turned, they've gone silent, and they've stopped feeding. Now, I did see some impala running around earlier. That's fascinating. Look at that. They've either heard, smelt, or seen something. They've opened their ears out, which is a slight sign of alarm. It's not us, because they'll face the threat. I'm just going to move around. I wonder if something isn't chasing those impala down there. Unless there's another herd that they're hearing. So, Eric, as I said, the most obvious example would be a hyena or a wildebeest with their long front legs and short back legs. In the wildebeest case, an adaptation for stamina. That's not the case for an elephant, I don't think. And now they've kind of split up. One of them's gone down there, one of them's gone straight. I'm going to follow this one, because I think this one in front of us here has seen something it doesn't like. It's going to go and look what it is. Now, an elephant will react like that to a predator. If it smells or sees a predator, even though the predator poses absolutely no threat at all, they may well react to a predator like that. There are the impala, but they definitely don't look particularly terrified.
Morning, Jan.
So let's just stick with this little one for now. Maybe caught a whiff of a leopard on the air. Brian, look at this impala hiding in the bush there. That's very odd. That is very odd. So I think these are 3 young elephant bulls, everyone, and they've probably just left the herd. Maybe they haven't quite left the herd, and there's another herd around here, and the matriarch was calling, and that's why they all perked up and listened. Now, as I said, you can see the trees around here have all been hammered in the same way that Terminalia sericea or silver cluster leaf has. This is a different kind of tree. And you can see it's in the same state. It's become a bush rather than a tree. Hello, Bash in Canada. That's an interesting name. I doubt it's the name your mother gave you. Bash, you want to know if an elephant would care about a bird's nest when they're browsing. Do they worry about bird's nest? I can say almost categorically, no, I don't think they would. I don't think that they would eat a nestling bird if it came squealing out of a tree. You know what they might avoid if there was a noise coming out of a nest of nestlings? They might avoid that, you know. They are very sensitive to sound. And, you know, quite apart from the inconvenience of eating a nestling bird when you happen to be a herbivore, I think the sound would probably put them off. So maybe, yeah. But I don't think that they would necessarily think about it. It's actually an interesting question, and we do know that elephants are, well, we think that they are pretty emotionally in tune. You know, we know that they are, I mean, the term sentient being is possibly a little bit esoteric for this time of the morning, but we probably do think that they're a lot more conscious emotionally than many other animals. And so maybe. There's impala just running around in the clearing in front of us there. Can't see them with the camera. Yes, I think he's just heard the sound of Wendy starting and wondered how it is that the car could possibly be sounding that dreadful after its prolonged sojourn in the hospital. So a young elephant bull, and so behavior like this wouldn't particularly terrify us. Were he to be much larger, we'd probably think about moving away. But all he's doing is saying hello. He's also deciding, you know, he doesn't really know what his strengths and weaknesses are at this stage. He's like a sort of 18-year-old. Hello, Sharon. Interesting one we were just chatting about. Oh, look, he's putting his trunk in his mouth. That's a kind of displacement behavior. Hi. Now, Sharon, you look into his eye. You said you wanted to know if you look into an elephant's eye, do you get the impression that there's something there? You look in there. You tell me. He's eating some heliotropum flowers now. I don't know if it's in the eyes, but I get a sense from them, certainly, that there's a conversation going on of sorts where they are... I mean, he's talking to us there. He's shaking his foot, and it's basically saying, I'm feeling a little awkward, but I'm quite enjoying having a little bit of a look around. I'm a bit bored with walking around desperately trying to find enough to eat. Well, the sun has finally decided that it's going to come up over the horizon, so let's go to Scott, who has found it.
Well, isn't this a wonderful scene? I'm happy that those elephants continued to entertain you and James. Jean and I have been checking the southern boundary. So far, only tracks of 2 honey badgers coming into Djuma, and also a fairly large herd of buffaloes. So I was hoping we were going to find some lion tracks trailing the buff, but no joy. So we are just going to continue down. Just down in this dip that we're about to get into is where we saw Karula's tracks. I'm guessing it was Karula, a female leopard, crossed out of Djuma yesterday morning, and I'm hoping she is going to have returned. Erlene, you've mentioned that you'd love to see a leopard this morning, and so would all of us. It's been tough going regarding the leopard viewing over the last couple of weeks. The last time we saw Karula was basically 2 weeks ago. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. And that was when she was hissing at Tingana at the Djuma waterhole, and we were doing some moonlight, late night safari testing that some of you will remember. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Scott. You didn't get to see me earlier. You just heard me yabbering on about the beautiful sunrise. And it's a great pleasure to have you on board. I've got Jean, like I said, on camera. Hello, Boyd in North Carolina, and I'm going to miss you guys as well, don't you worry. Only 4 more drives for me, so the clock is ticking and it's approaching very rapidly, which is quite daunting. And you've kindly mentioned that you would like to see whatever's on my kind of Djuma bucket list here. And I know I've mentioned the African rock python is high up there. Another high action takedown of a predator displaying its speed and agility would also be something that would be great to see. And I was chatting with Nikki about it the other day. There's obviously a bit of a sensitive subject, that of kills being made by the predators. I'm just going to check carefully on this road here. No tracks that I can see at a glance. And it's not the actual killing that I like to see, but it's the display of any predator's agility and stealth that is so seldom captured on film or just seen or experienced, that that's why I enjoy the excitement of the hunt. It's not the actual killing partner, that obviously usually gets everyone a little bit uncomfortable, varying degrees of discomfort. I guess the last kind of kill that was seen was with James and the Inkohuma Pride, and that was a really tough one to watch. The lions had really taken down the zebra, and it took quite a while for it to die. And nobody enjoys seeing that, but the precursor to that, the thrill of the stalk and the chase is what I get really excited about. So that would be another thing that I'd like to see. I've only captured one kill in over a year of being here. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm not sure if it was necessarily this individual that you saw, as there are many woodlands kingfishers that have come here for a bath. There's another little kingfisher that I'm keeping my eye out for called a malachite kingfisher. They are tiny, so easy to overlook, but I've got awesome coloration on them. Oranges, dark blues, considerably different to the woodlands kingfishers that we've been taking a look at now. Wonderful. Well, it seems like the chaos has calmed down, so let's continue on. I want to keep checking our northern boundary and keep slowly making our way towards the hyena den.
Try and make the noise. Might be filming a great deal of not a lot. Oh well, it might be quite interesting to see. I'm not sure how long that battery will last. And we only saw one there, but I can hear others calling. Of course, what you'll probably find is that there are 3 or 4 entrances to this den, and they will go out, all of them, except the one with the camera in front of it. Oh, right. Scott is with the active mongoose nest. Let's go across there. Obviously he is.
Okay, Jean-Andre, there's some coming down to the camera. Sorry, there's action happening everywhere here. They're coming up from that kind of grassy little pathway. That should do it. I think it's just hidden in a little ravine. But there was a group of 2 or 3, and I think they're kind of 3 teenagers that are a bit of a get-along gang that looked like at one stage they were heading back towards the camera, but I think now they've scurried off. Genre has found another one. That one's quite high up on the top. Oh, there's one's popped out in front of the camera again, but it just poked its head back in the hole. Well done, Genre. And isn't this fun doing something a little bit different, getting to know what's happening with this colony? There's some individuals, and sorry to throw you all over the show, Genre, but the musketeers are busy making their way further and further afield. They are obviously hungry. Oh, and here, Prashant, if you zoom out a bit, there's one kind of out in the open just in front of the bull bar. I don't know if you'll angle. There it goes. Our first individual has crossed the road. So it looks like now they are feeling comfortable and safe and are deciding that it's time to head off. I think there's another one that's about to follow suit there, Jean-Andre. If you just wait somewhere around here. There we go. Ding, 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 ding. So, two have made their way out from the den. Looks like a third is going to follow now along that same pathway. There you can just see a glimpse of it. Well done, Jean-Andre. And this is number 3. I think these are the 3 musketeers. There's 3 of them that have been kind of playing about together. Too close. The car got in the way. But again, a good sign that they are comfortable with us. Okay, now that's awesome. We've managed to establish that 3 members of this troop have moved east in search of breakfast. Now what's going to be fascinating to work out is maybe how many more are going to slowly come out of here. Are there some that are still sleeping, taking it easy, tending to young? Who knows? But those 3, I've got a feeling, and I could be completely wrong, but like I said, I think those are the teenagers that are like, we big enough to do what we like. We'll stay in earshot of the den in case mom or dad shouts at us and we need to come back. But I'm confident that there are still quite a few more members within this termitarium. Time will tell. Shame James isn't having much luck his side. I hope that changes. But if they have, I'm fairly certain it will. They're going to have to come out of the termite mound at some stage. It's just whether or not it's in a reasonable hour. Okay. I'm gonna do something here now because there's quite a few mongooses running out, and I'm just gonna jump out quickly. There's another one that's about to cross the road, and I want to reposition the GoPro in a spot where I'm hoping we can get them coming out of their new spots. So hold on a second. Just gonna try and find their hole that they're all emerging from. I think it's around here somewhere. Here it is. Okay. So I've repositioned it into the next burrow, and we're going to just move the vehicle ever so slightly forward so we can keep you guys in the loop as to what's what. I've unplugged all of my comms to the outside world. Hold on a second. Now, I'm guessing what's going to happen, why I did this little stunt now quickly, is because I'm confident that they're going to keep following the rest of the mongoose. There's mongooses that are already headed out. So we're just going to get onto that next pathway. There is a hole directly in front of where the camera's nestled in the grass there, and I'm sure one will pop out of there soon, I'm hoping. Oh no, I picked the wrong hole. Jean-Andre, further to the right of the camera, not too far, I think just there. Yeah, there was one poking its head out of a hole over there. So it's a lottery. You need 1 million of these little cameras to plonk in front of every single hole that they can exit out of, I guess. If Jean-Andre just stays there, though, I'm sure the head will poke out shortly. Okay, Well, it may take a little bit of time before they pluck up courage to poke their heads out any further. And while we wait for them to do that, we're going to send you back to James for an update on how he's getting along over there.
I gave up, everybody. I decided that that den was A, not very picturesque, and B, that mongoose may have been alone with perhaps one other friend. And I decided to gamble on the chances of getting a slightly better den. It may have been a gamble not worth taking. Interesting question from James Richard. You want to know, or you wonder where the name mongoose originates. I don't know what the etymology of the word mongoose is, I'm afraid. I think it's quite interesting. I'm going to guess that it's got a Sanskrit base, maybe. I don't know why I think that, a Sanskrit or kind of Hindi, Indian base, maybe. But James, I couldn't actually tell you vaguely even. We're going to go towards Treehouse Dam. There were some reports of elephants there, or sort of heading towards there. We're not too far from that area. Obviously, if we see a dwarf mongoose nest, all other plans will fly out the window. Oh, there they are. It was a bit of an evil laugh, I feel. Now, fellows, what I'm going to do is get out of the car and come and place a camera close to you. Now, please don't go too far. You may go back inside, but then you will have to return. No, 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 no. That's it. Hello. 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 I can hear a number of others calling over there. This is astonishing. Normally they will at least make an attempt to come out and say hello. Brian, maybe you give it a try? Catherine, you say you watch because the entertainment of watching grown men making kissing sounds at a mongoose is just too wonderful. Well, Catherine, we do like to cater to all tastes, so I'm glad that is amusing to you. I'm just going to reverse slightly, and then we're probably going to just leave this camera here. Then you want to... Ooh, that looks like a puncture right there. Then you say that you wish you could see our faces when we were making that noise. Then there's a very good reason that you don't see our faces, and that's because it would just be embarrassing. Slightly flat tire there. I'm not sure it's going to survive the drive.
Go ahead.
Now, Gilly, you reckon that GoPro might look like a long-legged predatory bird, and maybe that's why the mongoose don't come. I don't think they're that gormless. I think they know that that's inanimate. Well, maybe it's frightening them. We were speaking about thrushes earlier, and I can hear a ground scraper thrush. there, that tick, tick, brrr. Right, I tell you what, let's just go down. Let's go down to Treehouse Dam, have a look at what's going on there. Maybe change the tyre and we'll come back. Because I think if we sit here all day waiting for my mongoose to do something useful, please come out. Safari Dean, nice question. Will mongoose scavenge on dead animals? Safari Dean, no, not really. It's actually, it's not a ground scrape thrush. It's just a stickler. Safari Dean, I know they won't. Diet of insects largely, small reptiles and eggs. I don't think that they would scavenge on. They might eat a dead beetle if they found it. So that might be described as scavenging, I suppose. There are some giraffe, right? Deep in the bushes. Obviously. A very thick bush there, I'm afraid. That's not a wonderful picture. Anyway, they are in there. Nicholas says you can see its bum. Yes. And flicking fly-swatter tail, very important part of a giraffe's anatomy. I feel like we've had better giraffe sightings, Brian.
Me too.
Yeah. There's another one.
Beautiful.
Really stunning stuff there. We should probably submit these shots for an award. It looks like a bull. And he's walking around with another 3 or 4. There are another 3 or 4 in there. The largest group I've seen here was about 20. That's quite a lot. That isn't that group. All right, let's go to the water, see if the elephants are there, and then we'll come back and see if we can retrieve my GoPro, which will no doubt by then have the mongoose equivalent of Casablanca on its hard drive. Safari Dean, we're still going on about, we're still chatting about scavenging mongoose. Will they scavenge on big animals? No, they won't. They won't scavenge on big animals. I think that they would be out of their comfort zone trying to do that. I certainly haven't heard of them doing it. So no, I don't think they would. Just about all the big animals here would be scavenged off by much larger scavengers. And I think if you're going to be a scavenger, you have to have a certain kind of physiology that can cope with the bacteria and that sort of thing of rotting meat. Now, while I've no doubt that a mongoose's constitution is probably stronger than ours, I wouldn't say it's anything like a hyena or a lion's or a leopard's.